Hey, welcome to Road Testament, a very stripped down Road Testament. You'll notice there's nobody here. That's not exactly true because Chris Harris is going to be Skyping in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about, speaking of stripped down, that's the theme, the next Mazda MX-5, looking for a new stripped down, less, a little bit more track focused, a little sportier version coming up. And we just found out today that Mazda and Alfa Romeo will be working on the next Alfa Romeo Spider, or whatever it's going to be called, with the underpinnings of a Mazda MX-5. That's awesome. Go to, well, we actually don't have it. We're that stripped down today, and no air conditioning either, which kind of sucks. But anyway, at Drive on Twitter is where you're going to subscribe to us so we can ask you questions like we did today about the Mazda MX-5, and also on Facebook at Drive TV on Facebook. Go there and check that out. Well, whatever. Check it out or don't. I don't care. Whatever. No, check it out because there's going to be stuff coming up there anyway. So, the Mazda MX-5, what are you guys looking for from the next Mazda MX-5? And basically, you know, I mean, you could probably guess this stuff. And I agree, and basically everybody around here, including Ian. Ian, you agree on all this stuff too. So this is basically the stuff. Oh, great. Stupid apps. Damn you, apps. Stupid apps. Hold on one second. You know, look at that. Wrong app. Piece of crap. Okay, so here are a couple of the things that you guys want out of the next generation Mazda MX-5. Lighter, of course, because the things come up in weight in recent years and recent generation. Skinny wheels. There's a grip issue, maybe too much grip, possibly. That's possibly a topic for an upcoming Road Testament. I'm sure Chris Harris will want to be in on that. Also more torque, shorter gearing, and limited slip. Always nice to have the limited slip. Also, smaller, lighter weight, a common theme, and a legitimate track-oriented trim line, because some of the best Mazda MX-5s that I've ever driven have been modified by people who autocross them and do that kind of stuff. So from the factory, they're a little bit squishy, but once you add a little bit of, add some dampers and all that stuff, they feel a lot better. And I think that's what Chris Harris was talking about in an article he wrote that pissed off a lot of Mazda MX-5 lovers about how he wasn't really that thrilled with it. However, Chris is going to clarify his position here in a couple of seconds when he Skypes in, and we're going to be talking about the Mazda MX-5. We're going to actually also be talking about the video that he just did with his own BMW M5, and also the whole Mazda Miata Alfa Romeo Spider issue. So, Chris effin' Harris coming up. So, Chris, good to have you here on Road Testament this week. Live from your what kind of room is that? Is that your den, or what do you call that?
It's my study where I write words and I contemplate. No, I don't. It's basically the only room in the house that the children haven't trashed.
So we just got a video from you. Speaking of your home life, a car that's near to your heart because you own it. It's that BMW M5 from '86, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's a E28 square rigger.
Yeah.
Basically designed by a bloke who could only draw straight lines. Yeah, it's very dear to me. I haven't used it for a couple of years for many reasons. But I rolled it out and just reminded myself what an amazing car it is and why I really need to avoid selling it. I really do need to avoid selling it. It's a proper piece of engineering, and I always think to myself when I'm driving it, what did people think in 1986 when they drove these things? You know, when a normal car had a fast car had 110 horsepower. Yeah. This thing came along with 286.
Other than the obvious technology differences, I mean, when you get behind the wheel of a new M5, can you feel any kind of thread going back to that car from a driver's perspective, from a standpoint of being behind the wheel?
No, not really. No, it would be nice to say there were sort of DNA strands linking the two, but there aren't. You know, one's a twin-turbo V8 with a zillion foot-pounds of torque. The other's a straight six. You've got to rev the nuts off it to make it go anywhere. They don't steer the same. They don't stop the same. They don't handle the same. they're totally different cars from a different time. The main difference for me is the immediacy of the performance we have in modern cars. You don't appreciate just how bang and go they are. You know, if you're in a new M5, F10M M5, and you want to overtake something, you've kind of overtaken it before you've even thought about doing it. There's so much torque, you just go bang and you're through.
Yeah.
But in this old car, you've got to row the thing down. You'll probably be in the wrong gear, so you've got to make a gear selection. You've got to bring the revs up, and then you've got to rev the nuts off it to get it into the next gear, to make sure you're in the meat of the torque in the next cog, all that stuff. And by the time you've done that, you've probably lost your opportunity. I mean, I find it engrossing, but in a practical sense, to just get places quickly, the modern cars are so much faster.
Yeah. So good luck with it. And moving on to the big news this week, that a car that is not as near and dear to your heart as the M5, the Mazda MX-5, the Mazda Miata, it will now, or the next generation, will share a platform with the Alfa Romeo, according to a tie-up that Mazda's working out with Fiat. And I know that you have come out strongly in disfavor of the MX-5. So I was.
So this is the reason why you wanted to Skype me. I understand now. It's basically a great stitch-up job over the Mazda MX-5.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an instigation, but I wanted to.
Okay, well look, the MX-5 thing is not as simple as perhaps it was presented. Mm-hmm. The first gen MX-5 Miata, that was a really cool little car, but as it's just got older, it's got flabbier, it's become less of a driver's car, and I feel that quite strongly. And obviously the MX-5 loving community has got little voodoo dolls of me now, and they stab in them, which is fine. What I would say is that this is great news for Alfa Romeo, because Alfa Romeo needs a rear-wheel drive platform. They've got to have a rear-wheel drive platform. It's not acceptable to have wrong-wheel drive Alfa Romeos anymore. We've had enough of them, and the world kind of doesn't love them. So great news for Alfa. I also hear that Mazda is making a sportier MX-5 next time round. They're going to take it back to its roots as more of a driver's car. Is that a sort of tacit admission that the MX-5 has become a bit more of a cruiser than it perhaps was, and they're going to turn it into something to enjoy? One point I would make about this tie-up, these tie-ups always have a winner and a loser. There's never parity when you have this engineering exercise. And to me, this looks like a potential win for Alfa Romeo, because if you look at their abilities to style cars, Italian companies just have that lick, don't they? So I could see a situation where the MX-5 is just a slightly uglier version of the new Alfa version. There's an exact parity at the moment with the Fiat 500, which you guys have now got. Well, Ford jointly engineered that vehicle with Fiat, and the Ford Ka, as we call it in Europe, doesn't even get a look in compared to the 500, because the 500 is so much cuter. So we're about to see the same thing with the MX-5 and this new Alfa.
So it could be a matter of the Italian gets all the attention because it's just hotter.
They tend to be, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, they just tend to do more beautiful looking cars,
yeah.
and beauty sells that kind of car. So yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous. I think it's a slightly dangerous game for Mazda. All I can say is I hope they're charging them a lot of money for the platform.
So we haven't had Alfa in this country for a number of years. What's the latest bunch of Alfas like to drive? Because I mean, you've had them. You haven't had any let up of Alfas over there.
No, but the rate of development slowed down dramatically as the brand has kind of floundered, and Fiat's had to concentrate on other areas. Quite rightly went back to sorting out its home territory, which is small cars. So the 500 has been a great success, and they're rolling out new models as well. 159 is the mainstay, but it's an incredible proposition because it's so good looking, and yet dynamically it's just a long, long way behind any of the competition. Competing with the Germans in that sort of baby executive market now, it's just so tough. It really is going into battle holding a banana when everyone else has got machine guns. It's just not fair on them. So, I think really, sorry, my low battery warning's come up.
Right.
I think it's tough. So the current product range really hasn't got an awful lot to recommend it. It's disappointing. It's front wheel drive. It's badge engineered, and it's not that special.
So the other obvious question is, we're looking at cars like the Subaru BRZ here, the Toyota S there and the Scion F. I'm getting, you know, like the alphabet soup of those cars. Are we looking at what might be a new niche, and maybe the Mazda Fiat tie-up might provide a competitor from them that's worth the 30 grand or something you might pay for it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that Mazda fully understand how to engineer a rear-wheel drive chassis. There's probably someone still there from Alfa Romeo. What was the last rear-drive Alfa? Unless I'm mistaken, it was probably 75 or maybe the SZ, Il Monstro. Maybe so. There's someone Alfa remembers how to engineer a rear-wheel drive car. I know the 8C obviously was a special, but that was kind of, you know, a different thing. Yeah. These are good times, aren't they? We're getting rear-wheel drive cars with a little less horsepower. Someone from Michelin or Dunlop just needs to develop a really narrow tyre that works in sort of more circumstances now, because if we could have a sort of 175 section, 220 horsepower, then we're going to have some fun. What worries me is that they've all got big fat rubber on them.
Well, that's
the Mazda
thing.
and the Alfa will have the advantage of the roof coming off as well.
Right. Well, it's another thing. I mean, do cars have too much grip? That's a whole other show. I mean, sort of.
Oh yeah, we're not going to get started on that. I can tell you that E28 M5s don't have too much grip, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it looks fantastic.
Mate, it's always a pleasure, and don't cut that hair. You're like Samson. You're talking about cut the hair off it. You lose all your powers, Mike, so don't do that, all right?
I look like a wet seal without... like a badger. Something. It's terrible. It's a bad look without it. So.
I reckon you look like a very skillful she-male.
You have no idea.
By the way, I'm going to hijack this now with, I just found this. This is my signed photograph. Can you see that?
Oh, beautiful.
Signed photograph to Harry, one of my nicknames, from Colin McRae.
Oh, that's fantastic.
His championship year, 1995.
Wow. R.I.P. Colin McRae. Chris, thanks. Have a fine, what do you, what's it, kidney pie? What do you have over there? What are you having for dinner?
We're going to have something. I think we're having some kind of fish pie, which will no doubt have every teenager in the room tittering.
Cool, thanks. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
All right, see you. Thanks, Chris. So the Mazda Miata, Mazda MX-5 coming out 2014, 2015. We'll probably see a lighter, more sports-focused competitor possibly to the Subaru BRZ, and with an Italian design version that'll end up as an Alfa Romeo coming here. And that is if all this stuff goes well, because basically the press release that came out today was saying that all of these things are speculative. So they're going to hammer out these details by the end of the year, and we're going to see in the coming months what the actual plan for the next Mazda Miata or Mazda MX-5 and its Alfa Romeo counterpart will be. But it sounds cool. I can't wait to see it. And that is it for this Road Testament today. We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll have somebody in this chair next week. All right, later. Adios.